Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. First of all, let me thank you for braving the cold and coming so early in the morning. But I suppose General Rahil Sharif was a big attraction, and a lot of people are here to listen to you, sir, because of this. I'm going to take a very few minutes just to say a few words about how grateful I am to the General for sparing some time, particularly at this time. He's just retired, and he is busy because a lot of people are throwing a lot of ideas towards him. Um, and the format is going to be very simple that I'm going to request Mr. Javed Akhai, who has been my partner in this breakfast now for the last 3 years and has really, really supported us. He's going to say a few words. Then I'll have Zarar introduce uh, uh, General Sharif, but just to give you a little of his biodata to start with. Uh, General Rahil Sharif comes from a very illustrious martial family. His father was in the army. His elder brother, who's a friend of mine, a little senior to me, was one of the bravest soldiers that Pakistan has ever known. And he proved it by getting twice awards for bravery and ultimately laid down his life for his country and got the highest gallantry award, Nishan-e Haider. His younger to him, Mumtaz Sharif, I was privileged to be his roommate in the Pakistan Military Academy. We went through the military academy together. And I was telling General Rahil Sharif that uh, what I remember most of all was that since I was one of the cadets that was up in the top, and I fell about 600 yards away from the 9-mile finish line. I sprained my ankle. And he was number one at that time, about 50 yards ahead of me. Somebody called out to him that I've fallen. He came back, gave up his first place, and took me across the finish line along with two other people. Now that shows you the character of the family. I think that one small incident, but I can relate to you many, many incidents. But just to give you, Rahil graduated from the military academy. He did his company commander's course in Germany. His firstborn was in Germany, in fact. And then, of course, he went through the thing, BM of a brigade, commanded battalion, was chief of staff of a corps, and then became commanded a brigade, chief of staff of a corps, commanded a division, commanded a corps, and then, of course, but most of all, which I really remember him, the Pakistan Military Academy. And he really changed the outlook of the Pakistan Military Academy. I mean, when he went into the Pakistan Military Academy, it's not just the buildings. Is the complete change of evolution of thinking that he brought up in the Pakistan Military Academy. And in fact, the very last thing he did, I think, was that in our time, we had only one battalion, 1st Pakistan Battalion. Then, of course, 2nd Battalion came in, and 3rd Battalion. And he actually oversaw the 4th Pakistan Battalion, which is a state-of-the-art and which is based on the courses that he has done. He did the Canadian staff course. He's done courses in other countries of the world. And, of course, our own Command Staff College also. As Inspector General Training and Evaluation, he was responsible for the change in the thinking of the Pakistan Army as far as fighting modern warfare is concerned. And obviously, this was implemented to a certain extent in earlier operations, but when he started the operation Zarb-e-Azab, which he launched, and let me tell you, it was, I don't want to embarrass him by saying a lot of things here, but it was launched under great, let us say, political reluctance, because they felt that this thing, but he said no. In fact, a lot of this thing, and Operation Zarb-e-Azab really broke the back. We talk about Daesh. We actually had a Daesh in Pakistan because the TTP, they used to control vast areas in Fatah and Swat and in North Rajasthan. And the North Rajasthan was the last bastion of it. And I'm sure he's going to tell you more about it because he's been seeing that live in many ways. And in fact, the thing, and the last, of course, the major operation was in the Shawal Mountains. You can write stories about it and you still won't be the same because it was under the greatest odds, under snow conditions. And in fact, with great effort and a lot of sacrifice of lives. Today, let us say that Pakistan we enjoy the benefits of the sacrifices made by the Pakistan Army, but more the entire actually initiative that General Rahil Sharif took in absolutely eliminating the pockets of terrorism that had occupied territory. Terrorism is far from being finished in Pakistan. It's taken a long way to go. But the very fact that the space they had, the logistic space they had, is gone. And that, of course, has meant that incidents have come down to 150 per month to maybe 1 or 2 a month. And that is really something telling. It's still happening. It's still going to happen. They're not going to lose their capacity. But I'm going to let General Sharif tell the story by himself. And before that, I'm going to request Mr. Javed Akai to say a few words.
Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I would like to thank General Rahil Sharif to come here to take time out of his busy schedule to attend this program. And of course, all the distinguished guests over here who have come early in the morning to attend this Pakistan breakfast. All of you, of course, would be knowing much about General Rahil Sharif as a professional. I would like to share with you one instance that took place, and I'm eyewitness to that. So I just wanted to share with you General Rahil Sharif, the person. It was in 2015 that I had an opportunity to meet General Saab. He appreciate or acknowledge a small donation from our group to the temporary displaced persons. He invited me to the GHQ. So we met each other, and after, of course, the discussion took place. So I pointed it out, I conveyed to him that I had read in the newspapers that it was in February 2015, and about few weeks earlier, General Saab's mother had passed away. And I read that it was a Saturday when it happened, Saturday evening, and the next Monday there was supposed to be a meeting in Karachi for law and order for a national election program, and the Prime Minister and the cabinet was to be there in Karachi, and of course along with General Saab. And what I read in the newspaper was that as a result of the passing away of his mother, it was suggested to him that maybe we postpone the meeting. But he did not do so because he was so much concerned about the country, about the law and order situation. So when I conveyed it to him, the reply which I got, that touched my heart. And that is the General Rahil Sharif, the person. He was the then Chief of Army Staff, and I realized that he was so simple, so sincere, dedicated to the country. And what he said was that my late mother always emphasized upon them, him and the other brothers or sons of mother, to dedicate themselves for the country, and that they should concentrate, focus on the betterment of the country. So that's why he said that maybe she chose, although it's not in one's own hand, but maybe it happened that she passed away for the heavenly abode on a Saturday evening. So next day being a Sunday, so his work did not affect. So what he said that I am a son of that mother. So the next Monday there was maybe the Muslims over here would be knowing there was a Soyam of his mother, but he said that never mind, I will not attend, I can pray for her when I'm in Karachi. And this I just wanted to share with you, and this touched my heart. And if such a person is at the helm of the affairs, so sincere, dedicated, simple, and that's the result we have seen, that now Karachi of today, or maybe Pakistan, of course, Pakistan of today is not what it used to be 2-3 years earlier. And especially, I'm from Karachi. It was a very horrific situation about 1.5 years, 2 years back. But of course, due to his General Saab's efforts, he has turned around the entire situation. So thank you, General Saab, for that.
I'm going to go off a little of the format because we are privileged to have Ms. Anusha Rahman here, Minister of State for Technology, and she has to go somewhere. So please, if you want to say a few words, I'm more than happy to do from the floor. Can we get a mic here, please? Mic? Excuse me, can we have a mic? A mic here. A mic, please.
Rahim. A very good morning from in Davos here, all of you who are together to support Mr. Akram Sehgal Saab's breakfast and to hear Mr. Rahil Sharif today this morning. I'm really happy to be sitting with all of you and hearing Mr. Rahil Sharif Saab and Akram Sehgal Saab and sharing all the successes that Pakistan has made in the last 3 years is something that I would have not imagined doing because I felt that for me to say something to you this morning was important. The efforts that Pakistans have made in the last 3 years has been a very difficult journey. How Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif inherited the country that we got 3 years ago was, yes, a country where we were under the fear of terrorism, the economy was in shatters, and it was a huge task in the last 3 years under the stewardship of Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif to get to the stage where we are getting a lot of recognition from all the international institutions, and where today Pakistan stands when we can claim that the Operation Zarbiya has got Pakistan where it is today, out of the fear, out of terrorism, to the extent that we can claim that Pakistan is much more peaceful than it was 3 years ago. And the dividends that the civil-military relationship worked very well. And I think this is one credit that goes to both the civilian and the military leadership. And alhamdulillah, God is very kind. And this recognition that Pakistan is getting today in all the international fora and domestically is something that now the world sees Pakistan as a most optimal place, a destination for investment. It's seen as an emerging market where the GDP, where the foreign investment is considered to be secured, where the FDI has increased tremendously, where the inflation is going down, and where the growth rate is expected to go anywhere between 5.7% to 6.2% in the next year. We are witnessing a digital revolution in our country, and the technology has become the backbone of development. And with these words, I only want to say that for me, my country and representing my country is a huge honor. And when people in the last 2 days have come to me congratulating the new Pakistan that they see as it is, and seeing Pakistan as a most favorable destination, and looking at us as a country with whom they would want to work with, is an honor. And I would like all of you who are sitting here to have this new Pakistan, a peaceful Pakistan, a Pakistan which has got a youth, 60% of the population is under 35 years of age, a destination where, for example, just in the IT sector, I get about 30,000 young students who are now getting ready to contribute to the world economy from using the IT platforms. We are the 4th largest country now recognized as producing freelancers. We have got 137 million mobile subscribers. When I became the minister, the broadband penetration was less than 3%, and we are crossing 27% in less than 2 years. We are going to every village with 100 population and giving them a connectivity which is promised to them by the end of Jan 2018. All the work has already been started and approved. So this type of a development and bringing the gender parity, bringing out the women of my country, is something that we are demonstrating every day. Putting up computer labs, using technology, and teaching them how to do coding and cloud computing, bringing the young girls into the mainstream, and using it for socioeconomic development. The technology is playing its role. So this new Pakistan, as I call it always, is this Pakistan, which is a partner in development to the global world, And I would like to thank Mr. Ikram Sehgal once again for giving me this opportunity to just share with you what we all stand for. Pakistan Zindabad. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. I'm very grateful for your words. Now, Zarar, request you to.
Yeah, I'll keep my remarks brief because we should get to the main course and why we're all here. First of all, it's our privilege and honor to have General Sharif. It wasn't clear from the other remarks. This is a great event for us, great event for Pakistan, and certainly, at the World Economic Forum, it's considered a marquee event because of what the general has done. Pakistan today is a safe and secure place because of this gentleman's efforts, along with the government of Pakistan and the armed forces. Pakistan's foreign direct investment last year was greater than any of its previous years, going back into the 60s, and as a percentage of GDP, much higher. Pakistan's stock market was the top performing stock market in Asia and one of the top 5 stock markets globally speaking. And the centerpiece, and the reason I mentioned the economic development and the growth rate and so forth, the reason for that investment is mainly because Pakistan is now viewed as a much more safe and secure place to invest. And as I say these words, it's remarkable because 2 years ago or 3 years ago when we were sitting right here, I think it would be difficult to say that with a straight face. But it's thanks to General Sharif, the operations that Pakistan has now come there. And just very briefly, and the centerpiece of Pakistan's economic future right now, and I know this term gets thrown around quite a bit, is something called CPEC, which is the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. And one of the main reasons for China coming in to invest is the safety and security that they saw that this government, the armed forces, has now provided for that amount of investment to come in. The investment ranges anywhere from between 46 billion to 54 billion. Obviously, the estimates vary. The economic corridor will essentially connect the province of Xinjiang, Kashgar, all the way down to the port of Gwadar in Balochistan. So effectively, there'll be a road running directly from China down to Pakistan. This is part of China's One Belt, One Road initiative, which is a revival of the ancient Silk Road. It has 2 pieces. One is an economic road with infrastructure and highways and so forth, and the other part of it is a maritime Silk Road. This initiative, the CPEC, frankly, will lead to 10 to 15% increase, in sort of the gross product. There'll be a growth rate increase between 2 to 3%, and effectively puts Pakistan in a place where its growth is secured, because now you have not just direct investment coming in from China, but as a corollary, you've got now other countries investing, companies coming in. And so the 46 to 54 billion is just a number that China is investing or as part of it, but really the force multiplier effect. And so rightfully, CPEC has been called a game changer for Pakistan. It has made Pakistan into a viable place to invest. And from the Chinese point of view, and because sometimes we see it from the Pakistan point of view, I think one has to see it from the Chinese point of view as well. Oil right now from China is basically transported to Shanghai through the Straits of Malacca. It's almost like a 17,000 sort of kilometer journey. This will cut this down by 11,000. So effectively, what the oil that took about 2 to 3 months to transfer will now be transferred in a matter of weeks. We can't ignore the geopolitical situation. I think as the US elections have demonstrated, no matter what some people's views are on the merits or demerits of who's got elected, I won't get into that. But certainly the US electorate has signaled that it wants a more isolationist America. It wants an America that is not as interventionist. It wants an America that retreats from the world. So enter stage left China. Right there, the market is wide open. And I think China sees the One Belt, One Road initiative and CPEC as the centerpiece of that, as really its role to play as a future global world power. And obviously we are delighted as part of this, as part of the Silk Road initiative, that the CPEC will be the first investment that's coming in. With that, I introduce General Sharif. And thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming today, right in the morning, too early. for everybody, but I'm really grateful. And I'd also like to thank Mr. Ikram Sehgal and his entire team and his family for giving me this opportunity to come here to Davos and especially this breakfast meeting. And I'm sure as we move on and what all I have to tell to the audience, it would be informative and it would be a good interactive session. What I intend doing is that I'll talk about terrorism in general as I look at it and as we have experienced it in Pakistan. Thereafter, I'll talk about the successes and the challenges that Pakistan faces. But before that, I would like to say that it has been a teamwork and an unflinching political and military leadership resolve. And I salute the martyrs of Pakistan who laid their life for the motherland and also for global peace. I also take a lot of pride that I have commanded the most battle-hardened army of the world as I look at it, and salute my countrymen for their support. And it has been you can say, a whole-of-nation approach to fight this menace of terrorism. Coming to terrorism, I see it as the deadliest cancer. It mutates, it morphs, and it gels with all of its kind very, very quickly. And the worst thing is that it is self-repairing. It can adapt to anything and repair very, very quickly. This menace of terrorism and these various groups which are operating all over the globe, one cannot take them like pylons, that you count them 1, 2, 3, 4. Instead, I look at them like trees, and big and huge trees with leaves and branches. And they have a system. There is a method to this madness. And there are facilitators, there are betters, there are financiers, there are sleeper cells, and there are sympathizers. And they, as I was saying, they gel with each other and they work for each other. And the foot soldiers are mostly interested for a bigger name, and there's a lot of money which plays a major role in it. So if I have to give an example, a foot soldier of TTP gets around $400 to $500, whereas Daesh offers $600 to $700, and that's how the things move on. In Pakistan, we built this stability bit by bit. It was in hours, from hours to days to weeks and to months. And that's where we are in months. And I'm hopeful that my successor, he would take it forward and with the political leadership supporting it, as the Honorable Minister was saying, and with an unflinching resolve of the whole nation, we'll have that first year. And as Ikram Sehgal Sahab and son was mentioning, the CPAC is a game changer. And obviously once we have stability, things will move forward. To achieve this stability and to have, for example, Karachi was considered as the 6th most dangerous city in the world, and now it is 31st on the list. And likewise, stability has returned to Pakistan. But we have paid a very heavy price for it. And if I may tell you, and that would put in context that what type of challenges and what type of sacrifices have been given. We have lost 25,000 civilians and military personnel. And out of 25,000, 6,000 are uniformed men and women. And our law enforcement agencies, which include our Frontier Corps, our Frontier Constabulary, our Rangers, our police, and obviously the Army. So everybody put together, 6,000 is a large number. And these sacrifices have been given for a reason, and that reason was explained by the speakers before me. The area which has been cleared, where you can say was the hub of terrorism, was North Waziristan and Khyber. And the swath of the area is around 8,000 square kilometers. So this was the area where we had ETIM, TTP, Al-Qaeda, AQIS, and Daesh, and you name it. Everybody had linkages and things, and it was there. And obviously, a lot of money was also coming in through extortion and drugs. And there was a full-fledged network which was operating. Obviously, we were concerned about the blowback because the incidents, when, if you say around 2013, end of 2000 or middle of 2013 and early 14, there were about 150 incidents in a month. 150. So as I was saying, it was in hours, in the morning there was something, in the evening, and there's something else the next day. And from this 150, we brought it down to a single figure in 2016. And now, with the grace of Allah Almighty, it is one odd incident in 2 or 3 months. And touch wood, we keep our fingers crossed, and I hope and pray, as I was saying, that that first 1 year would come. So this operation, which we launched, Darbayaz, which was mentioned by Mr. Ikram Sehgal, this is the largest operation that any single country has undertaken, involving 200,000 troops. And this 200,000 is just the operation area, or you can say the western border of Pakistan. It is around 2,400 kilometer long border between Pakistan and Afghanistan. And I can answer anything about the porous nature of this border during the Q&A session. But that is the length and breadth of the operation there. But this is just, it's not only an operation. It was conceived and discussed with the political leadership and, as I said, with the whole of nation approach and bringing the country from a hopeless situation to a hopeful situation. That was the prior aim or the priority. And this operation, that's why, is not only a kinetic, or was not only a kinetic operation. It was an operation which was aimed at the financiers, the betters, the facilitators, the sympathizers, and the sleeper cells. And for that, obviously, we had to carry out a number of intelligence-based operations across the country. And for that, starting from Karachi, going till our province, KP, that's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, or Gilgit-Baltistan, so in all these areas. So just to give you a number, it is around over 25,000 intelligence-based operations have been carried out in Pakistan, and around 33,000 individuals have been arrested. Obviously, some have been left and all. And then, in the middle of this, once we started this operation in June 2014, 15th June, I remember the date because 16th is my birthday. So that's where we started. And this operation, as I said, was a wholesome operation with these intelligence-based operations and everything. So we went on a search, literally on a search. And I think the coordination between armed forces, especially the Air Force, was and is exemplary, because we used the Air Force, we made the plans, and the main thing was to avoid collateral damage. And gentlemen, another very important thing, I have to keep the time also in mind, is that this was not an operation where there were defense lines to be crossed, where we would just get into the hills and the mountains and start hunting these terrorists. It was different, because we had civilian population living there in this 8,000 square kilometer of area in North Waziristan. So we moved out 8.5 lakh people, and to be very exact, 3,38,000 families were moved out of this area. And once we moved them out, we gave them even polio drops. But the good news is that these people moved out, and that's why I salute the resilience of people from Pakistan, and especially from the northern part of Pakistan and from this Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province who moved out. We respected their culture and their traditions and everything, and they also went to, most of them went to their second homes, to their friends. But we established large camps. And the good thing, as I wanted to tell you, that not a single goat or a child or a person or a lady, nobody died. The whole movement took place very, very peacefully. And there we had a division looking after the biggest camp close to Bannu. A lot of people have visited those camps. Senator McCain was there, a number of people visited those areas. And they were housed there. And we promised them, the government, myself, and I've visited them. I have over 80 to 100 visits of my troops and these camps. And again, the good news is that around 90% have gone back. So we cleared the area and everything. So this movement was again an uphill task. And with that, in this operation alone, we have killed around 4,000 hardcore terrorists. There are a number of them otherwise apprehended, rest of the country, but just in the operation area. And around 240 of our very brave men, lost their lives. And in the fight against terrorism, we have lost 3 stars, 2 stars, 1 star, and the officers of Pakistan Army, I must put it on record, have really led from the front. So this is a very short glimpse of the type of operation that went in. Shawal is an area with high hills and it's snow covered when we launched the operation. And all these operations were very well coordinated and they went as per a plan. But in the meantime, the terrorists tried their level best to hit back. And the blowback did come. And they wanted to break the will of our endeavor, of our effort, of the will of the nation. But as I was saying, the nation is a very resilient one, and the people supported, the whole of nation approach, people supported the army and the armed forces and the government initiative. And I think the worst and the most horrendous act was the APS incident, or the public school, army public school incident, in which over 135 people, and especially our children, were martyred. And as I look at it, that was the day innocence was murdered. And we had problems with human rights and with other issues. But just to quote you an example, that day when the school was again opened, myself and my wife, we were there. And the ladies, especially the mothers of those children, they demanded that they should be hanged. These barbarians should be apprehended, caught, and hanged there in the school. And somebody mentioned about the human rights. And interestingly, one of the ladies immediately gave an answer and she said, what about our human rights? So that's food for thought when we come to various forums where we talk of all these things. But as I was saying, the things went on, and the nation and our people took this incident also with a lot of dignity and honor, and stood by the armed forces and by the various initiatives which were being taken. And then obviously, the situation improved. And because of that, very rightly it has been mentioned, this China-Pakistan economic corridor, it started rolling. The first pilot, you can say, trade convoy moved on, I think, 13th of November from China to Gwadar and on to its other destinations. And this is a game changer. And for this China-Pakistan economic corridor, if I may say that we are raising 2 divisions. The first division for the north is in place, and the second one is in the process of being raised. It will provide security from starting from Punjab till Gwadar, and it's around 2,600 kilometers. And we are also ensuring that writ of the state, writ of Pakistan government is established in all parts of Pakistan. And I can tell you that the flag of Pakistan is flown everywhere, and Balochistan, being the biggest province, has been stabilized, and these terrorists and their sleeper cells and others have been abolished, and there is a hunt which is in the form of combing operations which is continuing in these areas. And we intend holding our border. We intend securing our border, the western border, and the people have started moving back into the areas. And the theme is to build better than before. A lot of money has been spent in establishing various schools, military colleges, hospitals, health schemes. A lot of markets have come up with the name of Pakistan Market, and on all those old markets where IEDs and other things were sold or explosive were made and all that have been raised to ground, and new markets have come up. Just to give you an example, the amount of explosive that was recovered, it is around 360 tons, which had to remain in North Waziristan, around 32,000 IEDs could have been prepared. And you see the type of tunnels, you see the type of IED factories, you see the mobile hospitals, and you see the defenses that were made. And that's why we lost a lot of good men of Pakistan Army while dealing with these entrenched, hardcore, entrenched terrorists. And they had full belief that nobody is going to come to this area and rid of the country or rid of the nation or rid of the government would not be established. But God has been kind and it has been done, and I am sure General Qamar, whom I have handed over the command, will take it further, and the government, as our Honorable Minister was mentioning, with the support of the nation and with the decisions taken by the government in an appropriate manner and at an appropriate level, things will move further. And Pakistan is a very dynamic country. It can work under adverse conditions. It has a vibrant youth and a very capable youth, and has, I think, all what is required for progress. And I think Pakistan has done enough in this fight against terrorism. We have achieved a lot, and I think we have contributed a lot towards global peace. And our neighborhood is becoming safe. We hope that things would improve in Afghanistan and the situation on our western borders would improve. This China-Pakistan economic corridor would start rolling, and more cargo and more ships would come to port of Gwadar. And my best wishes and prayers for my country, and I am sure that with the passage of time, Pakistan's true potential would come forward. And we as a peace-loving and a progressive nation, we would inshallah come on the map of this world as a country to reckon with. And our prosperity, I think, with the stability coming in, this prosperity is just around the corner. So with this, I'll end, and if there's any question on which I can throw light.
Few minutes for questions. Time is limited, but please identify yourself. Certainly, I'm sure General Raish would like to. Please.
My name is Yuan Ding. I'm the Dean of China-Europe International Business School in Shanghai, which is the leading business school in China, but also in Asia Pacific. And we have several Pakistani MBA students in our class.
Right.
So I listened to the speech very attentively. I really want to congratulate you, especially thank you very much for your effort to sharing these insights of what really happened in Pakistan. I think it's very important for China and Pakistan to work together, like what President Xi Jinping mentioned 2 days ago, exactly in the same line, to keep the peace, to make the development and the globalization in an inclusive and sustainable way. And I'm very confident that the two countries can really work together and to send a very positive model to the world that the two developing countries can work together and add such a huge, valuable contribution to the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I would say that this China-Pakistan economic corridor is something in which more cooperation is needed. Instead of confrontation, there should be cooperation by the neighbors and by our friends and by everybody. So I'm sure as it goes forward, things would improve further.
My name is Shabaz Zana, and I work for the Express Paper newspaper. So first of all, I thank you for restoring the confidence of our nation. And my question to you is, how do you see the situation in Kashmir, and what are the way forward? Because many believe that without the resolution of this issue, things cannot improve in South Asia. Thank you.
You're right. It is unfortunate that instead of resolving issues and conflicts, if we see in the world around us, more conflicts and more issues are coming up. Kashmir is an issue which is, I take it as an unfinished agenda of the partition, and it needs to be resolved. Pakistan wants to have peace with all its neighbors, and I think the only thing which is attached to it is with dignity and honor and with equality. As far as Pakistan-India relationship is concerned, I think it is the core issue is Kashmir, and there are just three words: Kashmir, Kashmir, and Kashmir. And if it is resolved, a lot of things would become easy for both the countries.
Sir, my name is Tahir Ahmed. First of all, thank you very much for a very comprehensive talk. My question is relating to Haqqani Network. I was reading the other day in the newspaper from the Washington, there was a news that in 2013 they dropped about 1,600 bombs in Pakistan, obviously to destroy the Haqqani Network. But in 2016, only 2 bombs were dropped. Obviously, this means that Haqqani Network is almost wiped out. But I continue to hear in every newspaper from India, also from the United States, because they're supposed to know a little more, that they seem to believe that Haqqani Network is still operating in Pakistan.
Please.
So your...
Please. This is a rhetoric which continues. You must have seen our official press release also from the government side. I would say there are certain facts which need to be taken into consideration when we discuss such a thing. And the first one is that we have 3 million, over 3 million Afghan refugees in Pakistan for over 30 years. And there are intertribal marriages, there are linkages, they are with us, and we are hosting them. Then we have a porous border between Pakistan and Afghanistan. And Afghanistan army and its police, and this border incidentally is managed by the Afghan police, on that side, not the army. And ours is obviously managed by the army and our frontier corps. So there are issues, and then there are villages which are divided villages. So you can have dinner in one house, which would be in Pakistan side, and you can go and sleep in another house, which would be in Afghanistan. So that's the type of system we have on the border with Afghanistan. I told you, it's around over 2,400 kilometers. So with all this, telling Pakistan that Haqqani, if I may say, it's a tribe, it's a Zadaran tribe which runs from Kabul and comes down to our North Waziristan and these areas, and there's only 20% which is in our area. But I can assure you that Pakistan has no safe haven, nothing of that sort. All these training camps, everything has gone. And you very rightly said the drone strikes are finished. There are hardly any drone strike in the recent past. But Pakistan at the same time is committed. Pakistan Army, Pakistan military leadership, armed forces, and Pakistan political leadership, everyone is committed to have peace in the region. And we are ready to go to any length, as I see it, and to work with our neighbor, that is Afghanistan. We wish them the best. And I can tell you that in Afghanistan, there is a lot of space, a lot of areas where these terrorist organizations and these banned outfits, they are existing there, which has been shared a number of times. So we have to work together, and just talking of these networks and all, I think we have to go beyond that, and we have to see that how to have a political solution to the whole thing. And there are very senior and very wise and very capable people sitting here in the audience, and that's the answer to it. A kinetic operation can create space, and that's it. And that space has to be filled by a political settlement. It has to be filled by somebody. And that space has been created. Zarbe has created that space. I think now is the time for the other prong to move and to have a settlement which would be long-lasting. And I'm sure then such statements won't be coming.
Thank you, sir.
Assalamu alaikum, Anjal Jawda. Thank you very much, first of all, Ikram Saigal and Zarwar, to give us the opportunity to talk to the Swiss businessmen to come and invest in Pakistan, because there are a couple of people sitting here who have very big interest, but they just wanted to hear from you personally what are the opportunities we will have, if they come up with the money and invest in Pakistan, because they know the China-Pakistan corridor is working, it's on its way. I've been told by the Swiss ambassador in Islamabad, that Switzerland is one of the largest investor in Pakistan. So, over to you, sir.
I would say the environment is conducive in Pakistan. The security situation is improving, and institutions are getting strengthened, and the system in place now, I think, is right for all type of investment. And Pakistan needs it as well, and I think those who would invest would also accrue a lot of benefit from it. And Pakistan Armed Forces working in collaboration with other law enforcement agencies are doing their utmost to bring peace, as I said, and stability back to the entire country. But wherever investment is involved, there is a system in place, and a lot of security arrangements have been made, and all these investment coming with CPAC, for example. So there's a full-fledged system in place how to provide security to them. But on a bigger scale, I would say that Pakistan has come out of the shackles of terrorism and of extremism. And now everybody has tasted what peace and stability offers. That flavor is with everybody in Pakistan. So Pakistan, as a country, and the people of Pakistan, I meet them, and wherever I go and discuss things with them, they want to progress. So that is the positive thing. And because of that hope, and coming from a hopeless situation to a hopeful situation, everybody wants to have a better standard of living, everybody wants to progress, everybody wants to live a better life, and they want good education. Everybody understands that health, education are very, very important. And so I think Pakistan is the right place to invest. And as you said, we have a vibrant youth, we have a workforce which is available, and we have everything with us. And the way we are moving, I'm sure the energy situation is in shortfall, another thing that they are being addressed by the government. And soon we will have more energy available. So for investment, I would say, my friends and colleagues sitting here, it's a great place, and it would also help Pakistan in improving its internal situation.
Thank you. One last question, please. One last question. Yes, please.
Sir, my name is Karim Faruqi. I'm from Karachi.
Sir.
During your tenure, we have seen that we have visited many world capitals. Of course, it must have been for the army in discussion, but we have seen you discussing with the political leadership as well, the last of which was in Saudi Arabia. A lot of controversy going on that. But we need to know what does the leadership of these important countries where you have been think of Pakistan, and have you been able to convince them that Pakistan is something to reckon with?
So, wherever I've gone, I've been decorated also at a number of places in a number of countries, and I've had good interaction, and I think I've been lucky. It was a great honor for me also, and I think, as I said, I was lucky that I got that appreciation from the world leaders. So you're right, sir, they have had a lot of discussion with me, and I've been having that same discussion with the government and with the Prime Minister, Mr. Nawaz Sharif, and others. And I would say that people hold us in very high esteem. And the world leaders feel that Pakistan is a country which has a bright future. Pakistan is a nuclear power, and they understand that we are mature, we are capable of handling our problems and issues, we know our challenges, and they, as it was being said by Mr. Ikram Sehgal, the challenges are not over as yet. They were huge, they are still big, if I may say, and they would continue for some time. I think we require mature handling of these challenges. And obviously, wherever I've gone, the world leaders are insisting that we should understand these challenges and seek their help and support. So I've also been always mentioning this, that just telling us about the challenges is not enough. We require assistance and help to fight these challenges. So that's the type of discussion which have been taking place with these leaders, as you mentioned. And I'm a great optimist. Starting from day one, I always feel that when there is a will, there is a way forward. And Pakistan has that will. Pakistan has the capacity and capability and audacity and understanding of doing things in the right manner. And with the grace of Allah Almighty and with the whole of nation approach, as I was saying, we will move forward. And the world leaders you were mentioning, they are ready to help us. And I think Pakistan needs to find a fine balance between, if I may say, between resurgent, between existing, and between rising powers. And we are foreign relationship, if it is, we find that balance and we move forward intelligently and we take care of our vulnerabilities and accept the challenges and go for the opportunities and work in a cohesive and coherent manner. I think future is ours. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'll use my discretion to just conclude a few remarks. First of all, I'd like to recognize and thank a lot of people, particularly Ross. Ross Perot Jr. has always comes to my breakfast early in the morning. Ross Perot, of course, needs no introduction. He's the president also of the East-West Institute. Ambassador Cameron Munter is here. I recognize Hussain Dawood, Arif Naqvi, Post Ambassador John-Luc Godard, who come, and a lot of people, friends of mine who are here, my family. I want to acknowledge that. I can name a lot of people, take a lot of time. I just want to talk about a few things. Raheel Sharif has explained to you what the army has done. It has been done on the strength of 6,000 dead soldiers and 20,000, more than 20,000 wounded soldiers. Right? It does not lead two lines in a huge statement. Today, Pakistan of today, what Pakistan of today was 3 years ago was totally different. It's been different because these things could have been done, but they were not done. Yes, the political leadership came online and the military leadership put its money where its mouth is, and they did accomplish a great deal. But the sustaining of that depends upon the political leadership that is provided. It has got to be honest, it's got to be progressive, and it's got to recognize. Judge Sharif did not mention that he established a Shuhada Convention, which means the dead, Shaheed, we call the dead Shaheed Foundation, to look after all the dead of the Pakistan Army who died in battle, right from the beginning to that thing. Never done in Pakistan. We have our foundations which really do not, civilians also, both military and civilian, who have died in this battle. So, I think the time to come is not rhetoric. The time has come to put words into action. And that action has been done on the strength of the Pakistan Army. There is a young man here who was accompanying Judge Sharif, I will not name him, but he was fighting in Shival Mountain for 2 years, in the toughest area of the world. I'm sure so many people have been killed. I went to a marriage in Islamabad. I was trying to rush out to catch an aircraft. 2 people ran after me, the two brothers of the bride. I said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I have to catch a plane." He said, "No, please." So I told him, "I know I have to catch a plane because I have an appointment important." So this man embraced me and said, we never know when we meet again. 10 days later, he died in battle, leading his troops. Now, where would you find such dedication, such commitment? And when I thought about bringing General Sharif here, which was before he became, before he retired, of course, but of course became more this thing after he retired, I thought about it, that the Pakistan of today can only be explained by the man who was the game changer for Pakistan. Actually, he was the game changer for Pakistan. And he built that game changer on the strength of the sacrifices that the Pakistan army made in battle. And for that we thank you, General Sharif. That is a great thing. And I must tell you that can only be done by keeping up the momentum, keeping the sustaining. But that thing has been done not with people who are dedicated to Pakistan, dedicated to staying there, investing in Pakistan and not just living abroad, but to come to Pakistan. There are a lot of people, expatriates of Pakistan, who have done very well outside Pakistan, and they have invested in Pakistan. That is to be actually congratulated, and congratulated very much. But there are people in Pakistan who do not invest in Pakistan, but invest abroad. And that is not acceptable. For people outside the country, one can understand that. They are earning money, it's the right to invest anywhere. But they have invested in Pakistan. But the people in Pakistan, right, they can invest abroad, but first investment must come within Pakistan. I would like also to recognize my very good friend, Jerry Torres. Jerry has been a tremendous partner to me, just like Mr. Javed Akhai here. And sometimes when you reach the level of your life that I have, you really appreciate this thing. I would like to end this thing with one incident that happened 46 years ago. I was flying an Alert 3 helicopter attached to the People's Liberation Army in the Kankaram Highways, KKH, because they did not have, Chinese did not have helicopters that time. I was attached to that particular flight. And for a young man in those areas, I went to Urumqi, Kashgar and all, I saw nothing. So I used to say, why are the Chinese sacrificing lives? Because people used to die blowing up a mountain to come down. So my interpreter was fresh out of university, Mr. Chang. One day, just when we were harrowing day with blood all over our overalls, I asked him, I said, why are you Chinese being stupid? Why are you making this road? So he kept quiet, kept looking at me, and he was also tired. He said to me, you Pakistanis are stupid. Because you think in terms of 5-10 years, we think in terms of 50-100 years. Mr. Chang, after 28 years after that, went on to become the Chinese ambassador to Pakistan. For 7 years, he speak Urdu very fluently. And I am very grateful to him because one of the things which he did was that when CPEC started, straight away he got me as an advisor to CPEC with the National Institute of Strategic Communication in China. And I really, of all the things I do, I really relish that because the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor today is becoming a reality on the blood that the Pakistan Army has shed. And for that, we thank you and all the people that you have commanded. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Yes, please, Qasim wants to present something.
Just a quick comment about this China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. In Balochistan, we have built a road from Quetta till Gawada, around 870-kilometer long road. And this is the first time that has been connected. And it would take around 2 days traveling from now. It is a matter of 7-8 hours one can reach places from there. That is one thing. And the second thing I would like to again clarify about Kashmir, which I would say it has to be as per the aspirations of the people of Kashmir and as per the UN resolution which exists on Kashmir. So thank you.
Mr. Kazim Ali from Daily Times want to present you something. I thought he's on this thing with you.
Daily Times is an English newspaper, and every year we declare one personality of the year. Last year, 2016, owing to all these efforts made by General Rahil Sharif to make Pakistan a peaceful Pakistan. The Daily Times declared Mr. Rahil Sharif as Personality of the Year 2016.
I'd like to add here that we have got a delegation from the CPNE, Council of Pakistan Newspaper Editors. The first time they've been here, and they really came here only because they wanted to hear you speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.